You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Hello, you, and you, and you, but no, not you. Welcome to another Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast for everyone of all ages from 2. I'm Tiernan, and that's right, here in the UK it is fireworks night this week, which is when we all remember Guy Fawkes, who I think was the brother of Gal Knives and child of Dad Spoons and Mum Sporks. Probably. I've not really looked that bit up. And what I do know is that every year, hang on, what's that rhyme again? Remember the shopping centre. No, hang on. Remember your grown-up's bad temper. No, hang on, that's not it. Hang on. Oh, yeah, sorry, remember, 5th of November. And that's what you have to remember, because if you don't remember, then you have to do fireworks on a different night, which lots of places do because they forget and no one seems to mind. So I'm actually not really sure what the problem is. But on that date, at some point in the past, not like really far back in the past when there were dinosaurs, more recently than that, no, not last week, like some point in between dinosaurs and last week, Guy Fawkes failed to blow up the Houses of Parliament, and now every year we're really mean and we set off fireworks ourselves as if to say, ha, you couldn't do it, but we can wave a sparkler in the park and I'm only 6. Feels a bit unfair to me. I mean, really, we should all fail to do fireworks as well to remember Guy Fawkes, but I suppose you do sometimes get to have a baked potato. That's quite nice. I've got no idea if Guy Fawkes got to eat a baked potato, though. Actually, I suppose as it gets colder, you should really have a jersey potato, shouldn't you? And then a jacket potato, and then you should only have them when you go outside or you won't feel the benefit. If you are doing fireworks, then you shouldn't, because you're children and fireworks are just for your exasperated spam flumps, grown-ups. It's for them to get wrong, and they have to do all the safety things like stand in a bucket of water before lighting one and never point fireworks at anyone, or in fact light them at all and maybe just throw them away and eat a potato. It's lots and lots of fun. Obviously, if you have pets, you also have to keep them indoors, otherwise they'll want to light fireworks as well, and then it's awful because the cats try to aim them at the dogs try to aim them at the squirrels, and look, it all gets very scary, so it's just best not to let them out at all. All the fireworks have different names too. There's the rocket, because you put it in salads, and then there's the Catherine wheel, which you have to take first from Catherine's bicycle, and she always gets really angry about that. And then there's the fountain, which is wet, and so it won't light, and it is rubbish. It's all very exciting. If you're elsewhere around the world, I know you might be doing fireworks this week for Diwali, which is the Festival of Lights. I know that's happening this week. I love that it's called Festival of Lights, and then you eat loads and loads of tasty food, so that it becomes a Festival of Heavies. Or in America, you might have fireworks at Thanksgiving at the end of the month, which is where you give each other thanks, so the rest of the year you've got all the thankses saved up to use when you need them. It's really awful if you run out of thanks too many months before Thanksgiving, and then someone does something nice for you, and you just look rude because you can't say anything. So, yeah, it's really important to save your thanks. I hope, if you are going to see fireworks for whatever celebration it's for, that you dress up warm, even if it's really warm where you are. In fact, if it's really, really warm where you are, dress up even warmer with at least 2 or 3 hats. And also make sure you stay safe and that you eat at least 1 potato, if not 2, even if you don't like them. In fact, you have to eat more if you don't like them. I'm pretty sure those are the rules. Thanks again for all your questions, emails, and amazing reviews of this podcast. Big thanks to Krista, whose review I only just found on Audible that you did months and months ago. Thank you for that. Also to Piggy Detective, who gave us a farting duck. And wow, that farting duck is doing a lot of farts. It's sort of like a fart train. I think there's about 30 farts coming from that duck, so I can only assume the duck was propelled for miles by that. Thank you. I think that means you like the show, but I'm not entirely sure. Thanks also to Rufugufuvi, who gave this show 12 farting rhinos followed by a sick face, which I think may be the kindest thing anyone's ever said about anything we've ever done here at Comedy Club for Kids HQ. And also to Charlotte, who kindly reviewed us one farting gorilla and said that she is in the US but still loves the show and our accents. Thanks, Charlotte. It is okay for you to like the show if you're in the US, or in fact any other part of the world. You can like the show wherever you are, even if you're in space. That is fine. So I'm glad that you still like the show even though you're in the US, Charlotte. Also, Charlotte, I don't want to be rude, but I think you must be mistaken, because I don't have an accent. I don't have an accent at all. Like, I say Bath, like Bath, which is how someone with no accent would say it, right? Whereas, like, you're in America, so you'd probably say Bath, or Bath, or Bath, or Bath. I don't know. I know people in America have American accents, but here at Comedy Club for Kids HQ, I think we just have bad sense from all the farting animals that you've given us. Oh, I wish I had an accent. I think I'd quite like to sound like I was from the moon. Like, I think if you're from the moon, then say if you said Bath, which I say without an accent, then I think you'd say it like Bath. Is that how people from the moon? I just imagine everything on the moon sounds like it's sort of really spaced out. I'd probably sound like that. Also, I received this amazing email this week. Now, you might remember from last week's show the superb Sir Real joke that was sent in by Ridley. Well, his sister has been in touch with her own joke too, and I'm going to read this whole email to you. Right. Hi, I am Ridley's little sister. I shouldn't say I'm not Ridley's little sister. I'm reading this. This is from Ridley's little sister. Don't think I'm now Ridley's little sister. That'd be really weird. So, I am Ridley's little sister, Tiernan. You say my name as in what you say when you're revealing a really special surprise, like a ginormous marshmallow. Ta-da! But with an N instead of a D. Tiernan, that is such a brilliant name, and I do hope that is how you always say it. Tiernan! I am a 5-year-old girl. Again, I'm reading the letter now. I'm not a 5-year-old girl. That would be. I'd have a really deep voice for a 5-year-old girl, but still no accent. I don't have an accent. It says, I am a 5-year-old girl. I was so excited that my brother's joke about Sir Real was on the show that I wanted to share my joke with you. It goes like this. Question. What do you call a pig without a nose? Answer. A trampoline. That's all. Thanks. Tiernan! Ah, well, Tiernan, that is such a great name. Tiernan! I hope you shout it like that every single time you enter the room. That's what you should do. Every time you walk in the door, you just go, Tiernan! Thank you for your truly very, very, very funny joke that made me laugh until I fell over. And don't forget, if you lot out there, yes, you lot with the accents and variety of farting animals, if you'd like to send in a question for the show, do get your exasperated spam flumps, grown-ups, to help you email us at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. And now for this week's word fireworks. I'm not sure that actually works, because a word fireworks would just be someone going, wee, poo, and I think that might get boring after 30, but it's fun for a little bit, isn't it? Wee, poo, ew, poo. Now, that's fun now, but in 30 minutes' time, you'd probably be quite bored. Anyway, instead, here is your questions answered by our brilliant question answerer. Joining me today on the podcast is the very funny Esyllt Sears, a.k.a. Esyllt Sears, recognised friend of crickets and bears. I have to mispronounce that for that to work, but it's genuinely one of your titles. A professional gatherer of things carelessly dropped by people going upside down on roller coasters. Esyllt, the world's only top accordion destroyer. And, of course, as all the listeners will know, you are the only person on the planet who's never seen a horse because you absolutely refuse to look at one. How are you doing? So it's quite a list. You had such a list of accolades to go through, and I mean, those were the ones I picked, but it's still quite a mouthful.
And they're all true. Every single one of them. It's not that I don't like horses. I cannot look them in the eye. Also, it's very hard to look a horse in the eyes because they're on either side of their heads. So you can really look at one at a time. And it's too much hard work.
Am I correct in thinking you've got special glasses with a horse like shape in them, so that if you do see a horse, you can't, like, they're blocked out? Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah. So there's a horse painted on the glasses, so I can see the horse that's on the glasses, but not the actual real live horse, and that is how I like to live my life day to day.
I think that's very sensible. Why ruin it if you're very happy avoiding horses?
Yeah,
why ruin it by seeing a horse?
Yeah, and also because I had to invest in these glasses because I live in the countryside and you can't move for horses. There's a horse around every corner, so I'm wearing these glasses every day.
Does that cause, if there's a horse on every corner, which I understand they have to do for sort of, it's part of the law, isn't it? And traffic sort of safety measures. You have to have a horse every corner so that people know where the corners are. And I do get that. But does that make your life quite difficult, having to avoid them in such a way?
It does a bit because, there's nothing nicer than patting a horse. There's something quite satisfactory about slapping the side of a horse. And they do smell quite nice as well. So the temptation is there. But the glasses kind of keep me away from temptation.
That's fair. I mean, but I like that, you're dedicated. And I think that's something that everyone, all the listeners to this podcast, should really respect. When someone's got something they're dedicated at doing. Yeah. And you've been doing it for years now, haven't you? So
I have, yes. And everyone around me has to respect it because it's my choice. Yeah. And they just have to deal with it. I mean, they can look at the horse if they want. So I'm not stopping other people from looking at the horse. But I cannot.
Yeah.
I heard you saying about collecting things that people have dropped from a roller coaster. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't move. Like my spare room is just full of stuff I've collected from people on
Oh,
roller
right.
coasters. I mean, you're talking sweets, jewelry,
Mm.
cassette
Mhm.
tapes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Even still today, cassette. I should just say for listeners who are hearing this, a
of
cassette tape.
course.
It was like an MP3 you could fix with a pencil. I
Yeah.
think that's how you might describe it. It's like
Yes.
It's like streaming music, but in a box
Yeah.
that sometimes you'd have to fix with a pencil. I think that might be how
I
to
think
explain
so
it to
because
people.
there was a ribbon inside it that would wind
Mm.
round, and the music was imprinted on the ribbon, and that
Oh,
ribbon would sometimes try and escape from the plastic casing, and you'd have to prise it back in with a pencil. I
yes,
mean,
yes,
the
which is a
stuff we
really
went
strange
through.
use of a ribbon as well, because people
Yeah.
often have ribbons in their hair,
Mhm.
or but you couldn't just sort of take that off and play music on it. It was a very unusual
It
thing.
was very unusual. So yeah, cassette tapes. I think maybe people have just left them in their pockets from the 80s and have
Mm,
forgotten that they're in their pockets, and then they go to the fair and then it drops
sure.
out. So yeah, I tend to get a good haul at the fair.
And can I ask then, because you've got a whole room full of, which again, it's something that obviously the listeners will know about you from, in that you are the person that collects it. You collect probably more than anyone else. What's the most unusual thing that you've collected that someone's dropped while maybe doing a corkscrew or going a full loop the loop?
The most unusual thing was a teapot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and not a small one,
Wow.
not a miniature teapot, not a teapot for a
Mm,
doll's house, but a full-size teapot with tea bags inside.
amazing, but no hot water.
No hot water, no, no, and they're still in there. I haven't brewed
Mm.
any tea from that pot. I thought I'd keep it as it was.
Yeah, important to preserve it how
Yeah,
it was. But I see. I feel like I could under that. I mean, you say it's weird, but I feel like there are times I've been on a roller coaster and it's been quite scary, and I thought, do you know what would calm my nerves? Lovely cup of
you're
tea.
right. Maybe that's
Yeah, but I
oh,
don't know where the hot water. I'm slightly worried as to where the hot water went.
that's true. You know when you sometimes oh no, that I was gonna say when you sweat, when you're scared and you have a cold sweat, but a cold sweat won't help brew tea bags because you need hot water.
No,
So hot sweat.
unless do you think they're making iced tea?
Oh, maybe. Actually, do you know what? Because the fair I got the teapot from, it was a pleasure fair that was like next door to a beach, and it was summer.
Right.
So maybe it was a cold brew tea they were trying to make. And now I'm worried because they obviously lost the teapot and I took the teapot, and maybe they're still on the roller coaster feeling quite scared.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Oh
But
no.
how do you return it? Because you only collect it when they're upside down. To return it,
Yeah.
you'd have to get a very big ladder, or you'd have to sort of throw it at the right moment so they could catch it
I know.
mid
And
loop. I mean, it's very tricky.
I'm too lazy for that. I'm not going to do that.
No,
I
that's.
will
I
live
mean,
with the guilt. That's fine.
that's fair. I do. There's many things I admire about you, but I love the fact that I really admire that you will have special glasses to avoid horses, but you can't be bothered to throw a teapot at someone on a roller coaster. Which I should just say to listeners: please don't throw teapots at people on roller coasters unless they are asking for a teapot to have throw. I mean, it's a very look. It's a very delicate area, and this is why I'm talking to a professional like yourself on
Yes.
today's show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe at the end of this, give out my email. And if people have any queries around the legislation to do with throwing teapots at roller coasters, then they can email me. That's fine.
Yes, but I should just check that is only it's country, because obviously you're in Wales, and
Mhm.
and people listen to this all around the world. It's different laws in different places that may
Ah,
get I mean, especially in America, they don't really. I don't know if they even have a teapot in America. I don't even know if they've heard of a tea. I mean, it's a letter of the alphabet for them. And if they try and eat that, then
yeah.
they can't spell certain words. So it all becomes very messy. So I just want to. I don't want you to get bombarded by emails and then you give the wrong advice, and then they're throwing the letter T at people on a rodeo, and suddenly it's on the news.
It's a minefield. Yeah, I don't, and
It is,
I
yeah.
would quite like to be famous worldwide, but not for that.
No,
Not for giving
no,
out bad teapot advice.
yeah, yeah.
No.
I agree. I'm just looking out for you here. I just
Thank
I
you. No, I
don't want it to.
appreciate that. Appreciate it.
Don't want it to get risky. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And how are you? Apart from all the horse dodging, the roller coaster collecting, being friends with crickets a bit. I mean, basically all the things that you do. Are you well? Are you doing okay?
I'm good. Right this moment, my face is hungry. Does that make sense? So the rest of my body is fine. So my arms and my legs and my belly, they're all pretty full. But my face is hungry. And I don't know what to do about that because my face is also quite noisy. So if I'm hungry, it will just complain about it. Whereas because if my elbow's hungry, it can't make a noise about it. So it's easy to ignore. But when my face is hungry, I can make a noise. It's a nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
That is really difficult. So how do you just feed a face but nowhere else? Do you have to store things in your cheeks like a hamster, or do you sort of like push crisps up your nose?
It's a bit of everything, to be honest. I mean, you have to keep one hole open for breathing, obviously.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
And you're very lucky if you can breathe through your ears, because that means then you've got more holes to play with. But yeah, it's hard because my belly doesn't want any more food. So I guess maybe what I should have is some kind of netting system at the back of my throat. So I could eat, but then it would catch the food out the back. And then maybe we could have some kind of chute going out the back of my head for all the discarded food that the belly won't want.
Yeah, but it'd be quite handy if you had a little net, and then when your stomach did get hungry, you could like release the net and it drops it down, and then you can eat at different times depending on
that's true
what's hungry at. Yeah, what's your like preferred, like if your face is hungry, what's your preferred kind of food to feed it with that's just for face?
Cakes with a face on them. So
so
it can be a cupcake, it can be a massive big like celebration cake, but it has to have a face on it. I mean, the face wants to eat a face. It's all very, I mean, I don't know how I get any work done between the horses and the roller coasters and making sure that I have a supply of cake and netting.
Do you have, I'm just gonna list some foods here. Jelly babies, do you just bite the heads off?
Yes.
Does that help? Yeah.
Yeah.
Smiley potato shapes, are they good?
Bad? They go straight in. Yeah.
They go straight
in the
That's
mouth.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
What about like, have you ever seen a sad bao bun?
Oh, yes, I have. Well, it depends. If my face is sad, then yeah, it will eat a sad bao bun. But otherwise, I mean, try and keep it light. Try and keep it light and happy.
That's fair. That's fair. I can totally respect that. I should say, this feels a bit unfair because your face is hungry, and I don't want to sort of be mean to your face, taunt it with the idea of food. But I am in the complete opposite, where I've eaten so much today that I can't really move. Like, have you ever had that? I've just eaten. We went to see family, and they just fed us until I think I'm worried that if I need to go anywhere now, I have to be rolled there. Or like pushed there by someone else.
Yeah, I find that what you need to do is, if I ever go and see family or we go out for a meal, I tend to always eat too much. And so to preempt this, I always put a ramp out by the front door ready for my return. So then it's easy for people to push me back up into the house, because we've been caught out before, and then the kids have to get some ropes and try and sort out some kind of pulley system, but it never really works because we've never got that length of rope. So that the ramp comes out ready for my return.
Oh, you plan all these things so well. I'm really. I didn't have a ramp, and I just sort of had to very slowly crawl up the stairs. It was it's been quite a difficult day actually, and it did make me think maybe I shouldn't eat so much that I then feel sick and like I've turned completely into sort of a solid lump of wood.
No, that's no,
because it was
that's nonsense. No, because you shouldn't think let's not eat as much. Always invest in a ramp. That's it. Just get a ramp. That's good.
Yeah. But then who do you get? Because you were saying that obviously your kids, can't quite sort of push you in. Who do you get to push you up the ramp? Are there local people who will do this volunteer? Because I don't know anyone in my area that I could enlist to help out.
So my neighbours, Sue and Nigel, they might help maybe. If I've got some leftover cake in the house, they might come over and then I could give them some. Yes. But then it's a vicious circle, because then maybe they'll eat too much cake. And then who's rolling them home?
Oh no.
It's a vicious circle.
Wow. That is a vicious circle. It's all these things have to work. And, again, the kids listening to this, they don't have to worry about it. They seem to just eat and then they can run around and climb a thing
Oh,
and, I
yeah.
don't know, like, do all the things, just chase each other and play computer. Whereas I eat and then I'm like, oh, well, that's me for today. I'd better just sit here quietly until
Yeah.
it's tomorrow.
I
And
think I've
it's,
had a stitch since 1986.
right.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's tricky. A stitch. I've never understood stitches as well because when people were knitting, they get a stitch or they drop a stitch, and
They
then
do.
sometimes when you eat, you get a stitch. Is that the stitch that someone's dropped when they've knitted? If they drop one when they're knitting, and then you get one while you're eating because maybe you've accidentally picked it up, and I wonder if
Yeah.
there's a connection there.
I've never thought about that. But yes, maybe if someone in the nearby village was
Mm.
knitting of an afternoon and then they dropped a stitch and then that has to pass on to someone. And if you're not a knitter, then maybe, yeah, maybe you get it in the side of the stomach. Oh
Wow.
no. People need to stop
Yeah.
knitting.
Yeah, I think that could really help. Actually,
Mm,
it could really help. Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's also at the same time though. Knitting is probably quite helpful for making the ropes to help get you up a ramp. So it's there's yeah, like you say, it's all these things. It's vicious circles, and we
yeah,
just all need to be considerate
that's true.
of yeah of doing these things. I suppose it's hard. It's very hard. It's very hard. But I'm sorry about your hungry face, and I hope either by the end of us talking, maybe today's question will sort of fill your face with such joy. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. Or are you just going to snack while we talk?
I might, well, yeah, I could snack, couldn't I? What would I
Yeah.
snack on? Maybe a whole roast chicken. Snack on whole roast
I think
chicken.
that's the perfect sort of
Yeah,
like snack to have while doing a podcast. I don't think
yeah.
anyone listening would be able to tell if you ate a whole roast chicken.
Not at all. You would not be able to hear me. It's the only, yeah, because it's quite slimy. Because a roast
Mm.
chicken is always quite oily and quite slimy, and that's the perfect consistency for eating quietly. Because you can just
Yeah.
slip stuff into your mouth then without people realizing. Whereas
Yeah.
if you're trying to put, I don't know, a handful of Wotsits into your mouth, then
Yes.
everyone's going to hear that. But if it's a slippery piece of chicken breast, no one's going to be any the wiser.
That's true. And also the other problem with Wotsits is then like even if you only have one, you are entirely covered in Wotsit orange crisp dust.
Yeah.
And then everything you touch turns into orange crisp dust. And then all the listeners will hear when they listen to this is orange crisp dust, orange crisp dust. And it's just it's really they're quite dangerous actually, Wotsits and Cheetos and all those sort of
Yeah.
cheesy puff
It's the
type
biggest
things.
giveaway, isn't it? You can't like sneakily eat any of those snacks
Mm,
because of the dust, the orange dust. And I've
mm,
often thought that, for example, the crown jewels
mm.
in the Tower of London. I think they should cover that in Cheeto or Wotsit dust because then if someone
Yeah.
steals them, you'd be able to find them quite easily, wouldn't you? Just follow the trail of the orange fingerprints.
I'm pretty sure that's where the phrase "caught red-handed" comes from. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure that's because if you catch someone red-handed, it's because they're covered in sort of cheesy crisp dust, and they've stolen something that was protected by it.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that is. I'm sure, like, if listeners want to look up the history of caught red-handed, I'm certain that is.
I'm pretty
I'm
sure.
pretty
Yeah.
sure that is
If
it. Yeah.
anyone listening is about to do their GCSEs, I'd definitely use that as an answer. It doesn't matter what the question is. Just put that
Yeah.
down on a piece of paper
It's
and they'll
definitely
give
right.
you bonus.
I can
Yeah.
guarantee it right now. It's definitely right.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get
definitely
bonus
true.
marks in your GCSEs for that.
Absolutely, especially if you also leave crisp, like sort of cheesy puff crisp marks all over the papers. Maybe sort of rub just so
Yes.
it shows that you've done the research as well. Maybe write
Definitely.
it in cheesy crisp puff marks so that there's
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
And if you get a bit peckish during the exam, just have a little lick of the paper.
Oh, it's really good actually. They should do
Yeah.
all exams like that.
They
I wish I'd
should.
done my exams in cheesy crisp puff marks. I think I'd have enjoyed them a lot more. A lot more. Wow. Well, brilliant. I'm glad you're right. Apart from your face, obviously, and
Good.
I've got a really important question to ask. It's the reason we've got you on the podcast today. But before that, as you're probably aware, I hope you're aware, this is an audio podcast. It's for people to listen to with their ears, unless of course they're eating with their ears because their face is hungry, and then I don't know, maybe they're listening to it with their nose. It depends on what they've. I don't know what situation they've got going on with face hunger, but they hopefully will be listening to this somehow. And I just wondered if you've got a favourite noise that you can give us because this is an audio show.
My favorite noise, and I will do it, but I'll explain it first. It's the sound of a sheep coughing.
Wow, okay.
It is my absolute favorite noise of anything in the whole wide world. And if you've never heard a sheep coughing, right, if you have a granddad or an elderly uncle and you've heard them cough, it's like that, but coming from a sheep. And it's the best. So sometimes, I'll be in the bathroom in the morning having a shower and the window will be open and there's a field behind our house and it's got sheep in. And one of them will start coughing and I'll just be laughing to myself in the shower. And it goes something like this. And it's a shame, I think, that this isn't visual as well, because I'm pretty sure my face looks exactly like amazing. That of a sheep. Yeah.
It was you did a rather amazing impression, and he didn't look hungry for a second as well, which is very impressive.
Great.
I have never seen a sheep cough. I've seen a sheep before. I don't have any special glasses that means I avoid them or anything, so I've seen them before. What do they cough on? Because they just eat grass, don't they? I would have thought grass would be quite.
But then,
right for not coughing.
But you know what grass is called? They're called blades of grass.
Oh, of course.
So they're like razor blades. So imagine chewing and swallowing razor blades all day. I mean, you will cough from time to time, I imagine.
That's fair, and it's going to be a cough like that. I mean, that is incredible. Part of me was hoping that they're sort of, I don't know, eating too many cheese puffs or smoking a pipe. One of those things that's, when we don't know what sheep are up to. But I think you're right, blades of grass.
But then maybe when you get like an orange sweater, maybe that's a sheep that's been eating what's it?
Oh my goodness.
Isn't it? That's how you get orange sweaters. Or an orange scarf.
That must be. I never thought of that, because there's often you get wool in lots of different colours, and if only that that must be down to what they've been eating at the time.
I reckon. I'll ask them tomorrow. I'll go after my shower tomorrow. I'll go into the field and I'll ask them.
That sounds great. Well, I mean, thank you. That could you just do it once more, because that is amazing. Thank you. That is a truly brilliant noise. Wow, there you go, a sheep coughing. I don't think I've ever heard that, and now I really hope I hear it in the wild, as it were, not the sheep necessarily in the wild, but you'll
be listening out for it now, though. You'll be out for a drive in the countryside, and you'll deliberately have all your windows down in the car now, just in case you happen upon a sheep coughing.
I mean, I worry I've heard it and I assumed it was someone's uncle. That's probably the mistake I've made. But I won't make that mistake ever again. I'll know it's a sheep coughing. Amazing. Well, thank you. That was a truly incredible noise. I think absolute first for this show. And also, the other thing I have to ask is, obviously, this is a family-friendly show. It's suitable for people of all possible ages that you can ever think of an age. Go on, think of an age.
7.
Yeah, it's suitable for that age. Yeah, think of another one.
500.
Yeah, that one as well. It's like it's basically whatever you'd have. There's really not one that you could have said that. I mean, 102 maybe it's a bit iffy, but everything else is suitable for. So just to make sure that you're going to be safe for all ears of all ages, again, unless they got snacks in, I just wondered if you're going to, tell me a rude word that you definitely won't be saying during this.
I mean, there is one particular rude word that I definitely will not be saying, and that's fruchnedd.
Oh
no! Oh no! I said it.
Wow. Yeah, so what is fruchnedd?
Fruchnedd. I mean, I said it again. I cannot tell you what it means, because it's even worse than the word itself. But if we have any Welsh-speaking listeners, they will have turned off by now, because they will be so disgusted by that word. Yeah, it's a Welsh word.
It's got a lovely. I mean, it is an awful word, and I thank you for not saying. But at the same time, it's got a lovely sound to it. So Fruchnedd. Yeah, so I won't say it as well.
No, don't say it.
I won't be saying that word as well as you. But that is, and I'd like to thank you as well for not being rude in 2 languages at once, which is very impressive.
It's quite hard to not be rude in because when you can speak 2 languages, you want to be rude in both at all times. So it's
yes, of course.
Yeah. So it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it must be. I mean, I can appreciate that, but you can be double rude, which is really
Yes.
exciting.
Yeah.
And if anything, I'd almost think that cancels out the rudeness, because if you're rude, that's rude. But if you're double rude, it's almost like impressive. So, it's
Yes.
probably okay. But, but still, I appreciate you not.
I won't
saying-
test it out just in case I'm arrested.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you very
fine.
much. And I really
No.
appreciate that. Right, right. So, Esyllt, we've got this. This is the question I have asked you here for this because I know this is your question. I feel like this was written for you. I feel like the listener must have known you were coming on the show. And this is from Bodwin, who is aged 9. It doesn't say 9 what, so I assume years. Could be minutes. Could be decades. It could be I don't know, 9 cheeses. We don't know. But
I mean,
it says age 9.
It might be a good time to tell your listeners to be more specific. You can't just be writing numbers down without explaining what they're for.
No, I mean, I also always have the worry someone puts age 9, were they writing it upside down? Do they mean 6?
Yeah.
And I don't know for sure. So it'll be good to have some clarification on that, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else about Bodwin. I just know they're aged 9 something. And that's
do better next time, Bodwin. Do better.
Do better, Bodwin. And Bodwin's question, and I mean, this is an important. I sort of wonder why we aren't asking this every day all around the world. Bodwin asks, "Hi," which is a nice start. It's a nice start to start with "Hi." My question is, what is the deal with socks? Question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark.
Okay.
What is it?
Define socks. What would you say is a sock?
Like a sort of, like a mask for your foot.
Right. Okay.
Or like a sleeping bag for your foot, isn't it?
A
It's
sleeping bag, yes.
Yeah.
Like a sleep. So knee-high socks are winter sleeping bags, the ones you would take up with you to Mount Everest, for example. And then maybe the ankle ones that you wear with trainers, maybe they're like summertime camping.
Yeah, they're sort of like almost like a pillowcase though, aren't they? Because they don't really they're not very good. And they always slip down. They're really annoying.
Are they there or are they not? That's because at least with a knee-high sock, it's there. You know it's there to do a job. Whereas an ankle sock, it's like are you up or down? I need to know.
I feel like it's not trying. It's not trying. It doesn't really want to be a sock.
No.
It's like, I want to be a toe thimble, or I want to be a toe hat, maybe.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to be. It doesn't. I feel like it's letting you down. It doesn't do the job properly.
No, and your ankles are cold constantly with those things. So, what is the deal with socks? This is a very good question. I mean, I feel if we didn't have socks, we couldn't have sock puppets.
Oh.
Could we? And
my goodness.
And the sock puppet is very important to me because it's the only way my kids have gone to bed for the last 8 years by me pretending to be the sock monster. What would I have done without the sock? Oh,
you just had your hand, and they just said, "Why are you waving your hand around?"
They would have laughed at me in pity,
which is. Yeah, it doesn't look right just waving a hand around and talking with a hand, does it? When it could have a sock on it.
Yeah, and also
it's interesting because I was just going to say it's interesting because we've said that a sock we've said what is it for? It's for your feet, but here you are proving it's not for your feet. It's for your hand.
Not. Yes, because without the sock on my hand, it's a naked puppet, and naked puppets aren't suitable for any age group.
No, very, very weird, and cold as well. They often don't want to be a puppet because they're like, well, I'm naked. I'm too embarrassed to do like a hilarious, silly story or a song.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So you're saying that socks are obviously very useful for sock puppets, but that still doesn't explain, because that's not what we're told they're for feet. So you've already said that it's not what we, a sock sort of sneaking into our lives disguised as some sort of like foot hat, foot comfort blanket, and then, aha, I'm for your hands. Like that feels a bit dishonest to me.
That's true. It's traveling all the way up. Is a balaclava a sock?
Oh, goodness.
It could be,
Very
couldn't
possibly.
it? Yeah.
With holes in, obviously, because like if it was just a sock, then you wouldn't be able to see
No,
or eat anything, and you'd probably bump into a lot of walls.
you would. Yeah. But the snock, the
The
sock,
snock.
the snock. What's a snock?
What's the deal with snocks?
What's
That's what I want to know. These
that?
snocks, and they're just turning up, pretending to be socks, but actually some sort of evil alien living on your foot.
A snock sounds
Yeah,
evil, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah, yeah.
Beware of
Beware
the
the snocks.
snock.
Mm. I'd be
Yeah,
terrified by the snocks. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know how you'd defeat snocks. Probably some sort of stinky foot spray.
Yes, yeah. The stinky feet repel them. So actually, the stinkier, the better. You know how there was always this thing with knits? The knits only like clean hair. Well, the snock only likes clean feet. So actually, always have clean hair and dirty feet.
Yeah, that makes.
Does that make sense?
No, you have to have dirty. Isn't it dirty hair? Because I thought knits didn't like dirty hair. They like clean hair, don't they?
Oh,
Or do they like dirty hair? I mean, what I'm learning from this is knits and snocks are really fussy, and frankly, I think they should have what they get given, because
Yeah.
I haven't got time to wash my hair like 12 times a day just to like please the knits.
No. And I'm starting to wonder
if I'm giving them a home on my head, they should respect the hospitality of my hair, whatever state it's in. I feel it's a bit rude,
It is a bit rude. You're right, and it's starting to make me think that maybe the snock and knits are in cahoots, and they form some kind of gang, and they're taking you over, one from the top of your body, the other from the bottom, and they'll meet in the middle somewhere, and they will cause havoc with your belly button one day. Havoc.
Wow. Do you think they join up with like the belly button fluff? Is that probably what's...
Yeah. That's what they're after. That's the snock and the knit crown jewels.
Yeah,
is the fluff in your belly button. So maybe
you should put cheesy puff crisp stuff on it. Yeah, that's it, and then you'll know. Yeah. Well, also, for a start, it won't be clean then, so that will keep them away.
Exactly, and you'll always have a snack in your belly button.
Yeah, a snack to fight off the snocks.
Yeah.
Wow, which is very close to snacks. I mean, I feel like we're uncovering a whole, like, sort of worldwide conspiracy thing that I don't, think anyone knew existed until right now. This is pretty impressive.
It is.
But
this is a great podcast because your listeners are learning a lot and a lot of things that will help them get through life and survive and thrive.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Albeit with very stinky feet and stinky hair and weird cheesy puff dust all around their belly, but I think it's still surviving, isn't it? It's still that's the best.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how you smell or how you look, as long as you're surviving. That's the aim of the game. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and have snacks in your belly button. So yeah, I think it's right. But I mean, look, I feel like we've gone slightly on a tangent here. Obviously, it's very important that we inform listeners about snocks and knits and protect your belly button fluff. That's obvious. I don't even need to say that's obvious. It's important they know that.
Yeah.
But Esyllt, what is the deal with socks? What's the deal with socks? Like we know about the snocks. What about the socks? Like, what is the? And I should also, I feel I should say here because I do think like Bodwin is asking like, what is the deal with socks as a thing, not just like because there's a shop near me where you can get two, like I think it's three pairs of socks for the price of two, and that's the deal with socks there.
Oh,
but I don't know if he's asking like I don't know if Bodwin's hoping to buy socks from us and is asking what our deal with socks. I hope not, because we don't sell socks on this podcast. So,
like I said, I'm trying to stop people from knitting. So I don't get a stitch anymore. So actually, this is, I can't be selling socks while telling people to not knit socks. It's giving out loads of conflicting messages. The thing with socks I get, is it because shoes and feet have fallen out?
Oh.
So the sock then is some kind of barrier to stop them from quarreling. So anyone who has a sibling, or friends, sometimes adults will have to separate them, either with their arm or a broom or with a wall. Or, you know, sometimes you'll put one child in the bath and the other child on the roof just to get some distance between them. Is that what the sock is? Is it some kind of barrier between the feet and the shoes? Because historically, feet and shoes have hated one another.
Wow, maybe. I mean, but it's a very delicate thing because you could, as you say, you could put your foot in the bath and a shoe on the roof, you know, and that would sort it out. But then I suppose that won't help you go into the shops if you've got to stay in the bath and your shoe's got to stay on the roof. Like, what do you?
You still have to go about your day. This is the thing, So having that sock then that is always going to be, and it feels a little bit like the foot has conceded to be the one who has to wear the sock. So it makes me feel like maybe the foot was the worst quarreler out of both of them. So they were both quarreling, but the foot was the instigator and started the quarreling. So they then have to wear the sock. So the shoe doesn't, you know, it's not attached to the sock in any way. So the shoe was, when the shoe's off the foot, the shoe can go about its day. You know, it's independent. But with the foot, the sock is still on there. And that's the punishment that was given to the foot.
But I feel sorry for shoes because, like you say, the shoes can do what they like until someone puts their foot in it, and then it's like, you're going where I'm going.
Yeah.
And that's not very nice.
No.
You know, you might, as a shoe, if you were a shoe, you might have a whole day planned.
Yeah.
You might be like, I'm going to go to the zoo and I'm going to go to the park. And then suddenly a person's like, no, I'm wearing you today. And we're going to go to, I don't know, like the place where people stare at boring paint or something. You know, like where people like, I don't know, just like look at a window or something. I don't know what boring people do. Look at a shed or something.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be rubbish, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It would be rubbish. And you know, and as we know, if you have a friend or a sibling, when you quarrel, someone started it. So neither of you should be quarreling. You know, the one who started the quarreling shouldn't have started it. And the other person shouldn't be carrying on with the quarrel and answering back. So they're both in the wrong, but someone started it. And that someone in this situation is the foot.
Wow, feet have got a lot to answer for, really. Yeah. I mean, that is obviously now they're a threat from the snocks, and that's a whole different thing.
It's starting to make me think that actually maybe the snock should get them. Maybe the feet have been too bad for too long, and the snock should just obliterate them completely.
Well, do you know, in a way, because if they did that, then at least socks could continue with their real passion, you know, and their hobby that they love, which is being a sock puppet on a hand.
Yeah. I think that's what we all want for the sock, is a happy ending.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to throw a small spanner into the works here. I don't know. I don't, you know, you don't need to reveal what your current sock situation is as we talk, but I am at home and I am currently wearing socks, but I'm not wearing my shoes. Is this a terrible thing? Should I only wear socks when I've then got to put shoes on, or is it, you know?
Yeah, because your shoes are off having the time of their life at the moment, because they're no longer stuck with the sock and the foot.
But is my sock now doing overtime? Like, am I punishing the sock because, you know, the sock's like, hey, I need to get off this shift so that I can then become a sock puppet for my evening gigs that I really enjoy? Am I now because I suddenly feel I was thinking, wow, my toes are really toasty warm, this is really nice because it's a bit horrible cold outside, but now after this conversation I'm worried that maybe I'm the bad guy because I'm making the socks work harder than they need to.
But then at least you know where they are, and you know that they are nowhere near your belly button fluff.
So they can't be snocks, yeah.
So you at least you know that. You have that peace of mind. Yeah. Whereas I'm currently wearing slippers without socks. And so my snocks and socks could be getting up to all sorts around my midriff.
Wow. That's yeah. And should slippers without socks, that's okay?
They're an open-toed slipper. Which for anyone who doesn't like feet, they will probably be vomiting right now at the thought of it.
That
But
does happen a lot. Again, a lot of people just saying,
yeah,
you've said the word feet, and now that's it. They're just going to be blah, blah, just
yeah,
endlessly. But that's fine.
yeah.
That's,
Sorry,
they've got to learn.
they
Yeah.
do. So yeah, so the slippers, they're like warm, but they're airy. But yeah, so it does mean that my socks are redundant currently. And yeah, I mean, the devil makes work for idle hands. The snock makes work for idle socks. Maybe.
Wow.
I
Wow.
don't.
That's the phrase, and that's the ancient phrase that's been written in all the
That is
many
the
books
proverb.
throughout time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so that does make sense. Yeah, and I think it's interesting as well. You talk about other because there's sliders, and I think they're called that because they can, like, they're not upset with your foot because they can kind of slide off and do what they like. And if anyone knows you move your foot too suddenly, they'll just be like, I'm off. I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
I've flown off into that person's face over there or wherever you've kicked them. Flip flops are called that because they do just flip and fall off, and so they've got a bit of a life of their own, whereas shoes are, you tie them on and that can be pretty mean.
Yeah, but then punishment where punishment is due.
Yeah, fair.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. Well, so I suppose that is the deal with the socks. Really are like the kind of peacekeepers between the foot and the shoe, and without them, I mean, I dread to think how we'd ever go anywhere, or the wars that would happen on our feet.
That's it. Yeah. So they're the peacekeepers, definitely.
Well, I like it. I like the feet keepers. It doesn't quite work, but maybe that's what we should be.
Yeah, that sounds quite nice.
The peace feeters. The peace feeters. Yeah. It's nearly. I feel like socks. Can you get it? Can you let us know what title you want to have?
Oh yeah, because I wouldn't want to be using the wrong title and annoying them. I would rather they tell us what they'd like to be called, and then
Well, what's your sock puppet when you have been sort of privy to a performance by a sock puppet? What have they been called?
They tend to be nameless because I don't like my kids getting too attached to them.
Sure.
Because I at some point I will stop bringing out the sock puppet, and it will be more upsetting for them if they have a name for them. It's like with pets, never name your pets because when they run away or go and live in the field with a coughing sheep, the kids will be upset because they named them. Same with the sock puppet. It's better not to.
It's better to just point at. Is what I always think. That was like just dog, cat, where's hamster?
Yeah.
That. Yeah, it's always better to just name them by number. It's always quite good as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's quite, or some sort of like code, like a barcode system or something. It's always very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wondered if sock puppet ever, if you ever had one and they were like, "Hello, I'm Jeffrey," and you're like, "Oh, well, I've got to call it Jeffrey." That's what it wants. It doesn't want to be a peace feeder. It wants to be a Jeffrey. And
there's too much emotion tied to that. Like, no, let's not go there.
Understandable. Well, I should say, Bodwin, if you're out there and you know what socks would prefer to be called, do get in touch and let us know. I mean, I assume he doesn't because he doesn't even know what the deal with socks is, and this has been a whole learning experience for him.
Yeah.
I hope maybe now he can at least understand why he's got to wear them.
Hopefully, yeah. Or maybe it's just given him more questions.
I doubt it. I'm pretty sure that this podcast sews everything up nicely.
Good.
And ties up all loose ends. And I don't think anyone who's ever listened to any episode of this ever walked away and thought that hasn't quite solved everything. I'm pretty sure we've solved everything in the universe up until the next question, which will be on the next episode. So
great.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm really it feels like I've achieved something today.
You have.
Thank you.
You absolutely have. Yeah. I mean, as well as obviously the dodging horses and you should probably, what you should do? You should probably celebrate by feeding your face.
Oh, that would make my face so happy. But my belly is still full. So yeah, I don't want to anger the belly. I don't.
No, could you sort of lie on your side and just push food like into your face, but then you wouldn't actually swallow it, like it wouldn't go down.
So it would just lie in my throat on the side.
Yeah.
Like it might go into my shoulder.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like a holding place there. Yeah, I'll try
Nice.
that. I'll try that once we've finished here. Thank you.
Great. Well, no, thank you, Esyllt, for coming on the show and for answering that It was a big question, and you were the person I knew that had to answer.
Thank you.
That's great, cool. Well, no, thanks for coming on, and good luck with feeding your face. Good luck with snocks. Good luck with coughing sheep. I mean, there's a lot going on in your life. I was going to ask you what you're up to next, but we already know feeding your face, and I don't know avoiding horses probably.
Yeah, and trying not to steal anyone's teapot again from the fair.
Yes. Yes. Well, hey, they dropped it. So finders keepers.
Yeah.
Thanks so much to Esyllt for that superb answer, and I hope, Bodwin, that you now know exactly what the deal with socks is. Don't forget that if you have a question you need answering, or you just want to send in a joke, tell me about fireworks or socks or anything you like really, then get your nearest exasperated spam flumps, grown-ups, to help you email all of that to us here at CC4KHQ on podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk. And do also check our website comedyclubforkids.co.uk to see when we're doing live comedy shows near you as well, or in fact just see when we're doing shows really far away from you, which is probably more likely if you're in the US with an accent. I'm off to do a proper Guy Fawkes celebration where I fail to like anything and I just eat a potato or 5. Bye! You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids Presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.